At 70 years old, he sat alone in a silent house, holding a photograph, and whispering just 3 words that will haunt you. I wasted everything. But here's the truth that makes this story terrifying. He didn't lose his life in one big mistake. He lost it slowly, quietly, one "I'll do it later" at a time. And if you're not careful, you might be doing the same thing right now. This is not just a story. This is a warning. Because the man you're about to meet had everything most people dream of. A stable job, a loving wife, 2 children, a comfortable home. From the outside, his life looked perfect. But behind closed doors, he was slowly losing everything that actually mattered. He kept telling himself one simple lie. Not now, later. Later, I'll follow my dreams. Later, I'll spend more time with my family. Later, I'll finally live the life I want. But later has a dark secret. It never comes. And one day, without warning, life forced him to face the truth. A normal morning, a simple moment, and then suddenly, everything changed forever. The person he loved the most was gone. No goodbye, no second chance, no time to fix anything, just silence and regret. That's when he realized something that will shake you to your core. He didn't just lose her. He lost himself years ago. Now here's the question you need to ask yourself. If everything stopped today, would you be proud of the life you're living? Or would you, just like him, be sitting in silence, wishing for one more chance? Because time doesn't slow down. It doesn't wait. And it definitely doesn't care about your plans. You can keep scrolling. You can ignore this. You can watch this story till the end and discover the one decision that could save you from a lifetime of regret. This isn't just his story anymore. It might be yours. The hallway smelled of antiseptic, cold, lifeless, and painfully quiet. Daniel stood frozen outside the hospital room, his fingers trembling as they hovered near the door handle. His heart was pounding so loudly, it felt like the entire corridor could hear it. Inside that room, his father was fighting for his life. Just a few hours ago, everything felt normal. Just another busy day. Just another, "I'll call him later." Just another excuse. And now, everything had changed. The red light above the door turned off. The doctor stepped out slowly, his expression serious, the kind of expression that tells you something is terribly wrong even before a single word is spoken. Daniel rushed forward. "Doctor, how is he? Is he okay?" For a brief moment, there was silence. The kind of silence that feels heavier than bad news. Then the doctor finally spoke. "We're trying our best, but his condition is critical." Daniel's chest tightened. Critical? How could this happen so suddenly? "He's been having symptoms for a while," the doctor continued. "Didn't he complain about chest pain? Shortness of breath?" Daniel's mind started racing. Yes, his father had mentioned it. A few times. Maybe more than a few. But every time, Daniel had brushed it off. "It's nothing serious, Dad. You're just tired. We'll check it later." Later. That word suddenly felt like a knife cutting through his chest. The doctor looked him straight in the eyes and said something that would haunt him forever. "If you had brought him earlier, things could have been different." Those words echoed. Again, and again, and again. If you had brought him earlier. Daniel felt his legs weaken. He leaned against the wall, trying to breathe, but the air felt too heavy. Earlier? When was earlier? Was it yesterday, when his father held his chest and quietly sat down? Was it last week, when he said he felt unusually tired? Or was it months ago, when the signs first started showing? Daniel closed his eyes, and suddenly memories flooded in. His father sitting alone in the living room, waiting. His father calling his name softly, only to hear, "I'm busy." His father smiling, pretending everything was fine, even when it wasn't. And Daniel, always rushing, always distracted, always thinking there would be more time. A tear slipped down his cheek. "I didn't know," he whispered to himself. But deep down, he knew the truth. It wasn't that he didn't know. It was that he didn't pay attention. The door to the room creaked open slightly. Machines beeped steadily inside. Daniel slowly stepped forward. Each step felt heavier than the last. When he finally entered, the sight broke him completely. His father lay on the bed, motionless. Tubes connected to his body. A machine breathing for him. This wasn't the strong man he had always known. This wasn't the father who used to laugh, tell stories, and wait for him every evening. This was someone fragile. Someone who needed him when he wasn't there. Daniel walked closer, his hands shaking as he reached out and held his father's hand. It was warm, but weak. "Dad!" His voice cracked. No response. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt truly helpless. All the money he earned, all the work he prioritized, all the important things he chased, none of it mattered here. None of it could fix this. "I'm here now, Dad," he whispered, his voice filled with regret. But even as he said it, he realized something painful. Now might be too late. The machines kept beeping. The silence in the room grew louder. And in that moment, Daniel understood something that would change him forever. Life doesn't warn you before it takes everything away. Sometimes, the biggest mistake isn't what you do. It's what you keep delaying. And standing there, holding his father's hand, Daniel realized the truth no one had ever told him. By the time you understand what truly matters, you might have already lost it. Daniel believed he was doing everything right. In his mind, his life had a clear direction. Wake up early. Work harder than everyone else. Build something meaningful. Become successful. Make his family proud. That was the plan. Every morning, his alarm rang at 6 a.m. He didn't wake up feeling excited. He woke up feeling rushed. Even before opening his eyes fully, his mind would start running through tasks, deadlines, meetings, emails. He would grab his phone immediately. Notifications. Messages. Work updates. No good morning. No moment of peace. Just pressure. His father would already be awake by then. Sitting quietly in the small living room, sipping tea, watching the morning news, waiting. "Good morning, son," his father would say with a soft smile. Daniel, half distracted, would reply quickly, "Morning, Dad," while scrolling through his phone. His father would often say, "Sit with me for a few minutes. Have tea." But Daniel always had the same answer. "I'm getting late." Even when he wasn't. Breakfast. Skipped. Conversation. Postponed. Connection. Ignored. To Daniel, this wasn't wrong. This was discipline. This was sacrifice. This was what successful people do, right? His office became his second home. Sometimes, it felt like his only home. Long hours. Bright screens. Endless tasks. Colleagues admired him. "Daniel, you're unstoppable. You're going places. You're going to be very successful one day." Those words fueled him. They made him feel like all the sacrifices were worth it. But there was something no one noticed. Or maybe something Daniel chose not to notice. Every time his phone rang and it was his father, he hesitated. Sometimes, he rejected the call. Sometimes, he picked up and said quickly, "Dad, I'm busy. I'll call you later." And sometimes, he forgot to call back. His father never complained. Not once. If anything, he made things easier for Daniel. He stopped asking for time. He stopped interrupting. He stopped expecting. Instead, he adjusted. He would eat alone. Walk alone. Sit quietly for hours, just listening to the clock tick. But whenever Daniel came home, his father would still smile. "Did you eat? How was your day?" Simple questions. Small attempts to stay connected. Daniel would respond briefly, often distracted. "Yeah, it was fine. Just tired." Then he would go straight to his room. Laptop open. Work again. Always work. There were moments, small, quiet moments, where life tried to slow him down. One evening, his father said, "Son, let's go for a walk. The weather is nice." Daniel didn't even look up from his screen. Maybe this weekend, Dad. Weekend came. But so did more work. Next weekend, he said. But next weekend never really came. Another day, his father brought out an old photo album. Come, sit. Let's look at these. Daniel glanced at it briefly. Not now, Dad. I have an important deadline. His father nodded gently. Okay. He closed the album, slowly. That album never opened again. Deep inside, Daniel believed he was doing all of this for his father. To give him a better life. To make him proud. To secure their future. But he never realized something important. His father didn't want a better future. He wanted time in the present. Sometimes, late at night, when Daniel finally closed his laptop, he would feel a strange emptiness. The room felt quiet. Too quiet. He would hear a faint cough from the other room, or the sound of the TV playing softly. His father was still awake. Alone. Waiting, without expecting. Daniel would think for a moment, maybe I should go sit with him. But then another thought would come. I'm too tired. Tomorrow. Always tomorrow. That word, tomorrow, became his biggest illusion. Tomorrow, I'll spend time with him. Tomorrow, I'll listen properly. Tomorrow, I'll slow down. But tomorrow kept moving further away. And Daniel kept chasing something that never seemed to arrive. Enough. Enough money. Enough success. Enough security. It was like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast he ran, he stayed in the same place. One night, his father said something unusual. Son, do you ever feel tired of all this? Daniel looked confused. Tired? This is life, Dad. This is how it works. His father smiled, but there was something different in that smile. A quiet sadness. Maybe, he said softly. But don't forget to live it too. Daniel didn't respond. He didn't understand. Or maybe, he didn't try to understand. To Daniel, his life was normal. Busy. Productive. Focused. But what he didn't realize was this. He wasn't just building a future. He was slowly losing his present. And the most dangerous part, it didn't feel wrong. It felt right. That's how life traps you. Not with big mistakes, but with small, repeated choices that seem harmless. Skipping one conversation. Delaying one moment. Ignoring one sign. Until one day, those small things turn into something you can never fix. And Daniel had no idea that the life he thought was normal was quietly leading him toward the biggest regret of his life. The day everything changed didn't feel important at first. It started like any other morning. Daniel woke up at 6:30 a.m., out of habit, not because he had to, but because his body didn't know any other way. Even after retirement, the routine refused to leave him. The house was quiet. Too quiet. He sat on the edge of his bed for a moment, staring at the floor, trying to gather the energy to begin another empty day. From the kitchen, he heard a soft clatter. Linda was awake. That alone brought him a small sense of comfort. Even in the silence, her presence had always made the house feel alive. He walked slowly toward the kitchen. There she was, standing near the counter, preparing tea. Simple. Ordinary. Familiar. Morning, she said gently, offering him a warm smile. Morning, Daniel replied. They didn't say much after that. They didn't need to. Or at least, that's what Daniel believed. Looking back, that moment would haunt him the most. Because he had no idea. It would be the last normal moment of his life. Linda placed the cups on the table and turned to grab something from the shelf. And then, a sudden sound. A sharp, unnatural thud. Daniel froze. Linda. No response. His heart skipped a beat as he rushed forward. She was on the floor. Completely still. Linda! His voice rose, panic instantly flooding through him. He dropped to his knees beside her, his hands shaking as he tried to lift her. Her eyes were closed. Her body felt lifeless. No, 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 he whispered, his voice breaking apart. His mind raced, trying to understand what was happening. This can't be real. He reached for his phone with trembling fingers and dialed for help. "Please come quickly," he shouted, his words barely making sense. "My wife, she's not waking up." Every second felt like an hour. He kept calling her name. "Linda, please, open your eyes, please." But nothing changed. The room that once felt safe now felt suffocating. The ticking clock grew louder. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. And then, finally, the sound of sirens. Hope. A small, desperate hope. Paramedics rushed in, their movements fast and precise. "Step back, sir." Daniel stumbled away, watching helplessly as they tried to bring her back. He searched their faces for answers. For reassurance. For anything. But all he saw was urgency, and something else. Something he didn't want to believe. Minutes passed. Long, painful minutes. Then one of them looked at him. And in that single glance, Daniel understood. Before the words were even spoken. "I'm sorry." That was it. 2 words. 2 simple words that shattered everything. Daniel didn't react at first. He just stood there. Frozen. As if his mind refused to accept what had just happened. "No," he said quietly. "No, you're wrong. Check again, please." But deep down, he knew. Linda was gone. Just like that. No warning. No goodbye. No second chance. The house fell into silence again. But this time, it wasn't just quiet. It was empty. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. But time no longer felt real to Daniel. Everything moved, but he didn't. He sat in the same chair, walked through the same rooms, stared at the same walls. But nothing felt the same. Because she wasn't there. The small things hurt the most. Her cup still sitting in the kitchen. Her favorite chair by the window. The faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. Every corner of the house reminded him of what he had lost. But the pain didn't stop there. That was only the beginning. Because for the first time in decades, Daniel had nothing to distract him. No work. No deadlines. No routine to hide behind. Just silence. And his thoughts. At first, he tried to ignore them. He watched TV for hours. Sat outside without purpose. Tried to fill the emptiness with anything he could find. But nothing worked. Because the truth doesn't disappear. It waits. And when everything else fades away, it comes back stronger. One evening, unable to sit still any longer, Daniel began searching through old drawers. He didn't know what he was looking for. Maybe a distraction. Maybe a memory. Maybe something that still felt alive. That's when he found it. An old notebook. Dusty. Forgotten. He opened it slowly. And as he turned the pages, he felt something shift inside him. These weren't just notes. These were dreams. His dreams. Written in his own handwriting. From a time when he still believed in them. Start my own business. Travel the world. Write a book. Live a life I'm proud of. Daniel stared at the words. His chest tightened again. But this time, it wasn't panic. It was realization. A painful, undeniable realization. He sat down, holding the notebook in his hands. And for the first time in years, he truly looked at his life. Not the version he told others. Not the version he convinced himself of. But the truth. He had spent his entire life preparing to live. But never actually living. He had waited for the right time. The perfect moment. The day when everything would align. But that day never came. And now, the person he wanted to share that life with, was gone. Daniel's eyes filled with tears again. But these tears felt different. He wasn't just grieving Linda. He was grieving himself. The version of him that never got a chance to exist. The version that took risks. Followed dreams. Chose courage over comfort. "I thought I had time," he whispered. But time had already moved on. And now, he was left with something far more painful than loss. Regret. Deep, heavy, undeniable regret. In that quiet room, with nothing but memories surrounding him, Daniel realized something that would change him forever. He didn't just lose his wife that day. He lost the illusion that life would wait for him. And from that moment on, there was no more running from the truth. At 70 years old, sitting alone in a silent house filled with memories, Daniel Carter finally saw his life for what it truly was. Not the version he had told others. Not the version he had convinced himself of for years. But the truth. Raw. Unfiltered. Unavoidable. The photograph still rested in his hands. His fingers gently traced over the faces, his younger self, Linda, his children. A moment frozen in time. A moment that once felt ordinary, but now felt priceless. Daniel leaned back in his chair, his body heavy, his eyes tired. But his mind was awake. For the first time in decades, there was no noise to distract him. No routine to hide behind. No responsibilities to use as an excuse. Just him and the truth. And the truth was simple. Life didn't betray him. He betrayed his life. That realization hit him harder than anything else. Because for so long, Daniel believed he was a victim of circumstances. He thought life had been too busy, too demanding, too complicated. He thought he didn't have a choice. But now, looking back, he could see it clearly. He did have a choice. Every single day. When he chose work over moments. When he chose comfort over courage. When he chose later instead of now. Those weren't accidents. They were decisions. Small ones, repeated over time, that slowly shaped the direction of his entire life. Daniel closed his eyes. Memories flashed through his mind like scenes from a movie. Linda asking him to take a short trip with her. Maybe next month, he had said. His son holding a school certificate, waiting for him to come home. I'm busy today, we'll celebrate later. His daughter asking him to attend her event. I'll try. He never did. Each memory felt like a quiet reminder of something he could never undo. I thought I was doing the right thing, he whispered. But now he understood something most people realize too late. Being busy isn't the same as living. Providing isn't the same as being present. And waiting is the most dangerous habit of all. Daniel opened his eyes again. The room looked the same. Nothing had physically changed. But inside him, everything had. For years, he had been asleep without realizing it. Moving through life on autopilot. Doing what was expected. Following the safest path. Avoiding risks. Avoiding discomfort. Avoiding failure. But in doing so, he had also avoided life itself. And now, standing at the edge of his life, he could see the cost of that choice. Not in money. Not in success. But in memories. In relationships. In moments that never happened. And dreams that were never even attempted. A deep breath escaped his lips. I was afraid, he admitted quietly. That was the truth he had been avoiding the longest. Fear. Fear of failing. Fear of being judged. Fear of losing stability. Fear of stepping into the unknown. So instead of risking failure, he chose safety. But what he didn't realize back then was this. Safety doesn't protect you from regret. It guarantees it. Daniel slowly stood up from his chair. His legs felt weak, but his mind felt stronger than it had in years. He looked around the house one more time. This time, he didn't just see emptiness. He saw reminders, lessons, warnings. And then, something unexpected happened. A question formed in his mind. Clear, direct, impossible to ignore. Is it really too late? For a moment, the answer felt obvious. He was 70. Most people at his age slow down. They settle. They accept that their story is almost over, that their best days are behind them. But Daniel wasn't thinking like most people anymore, because for the first time, he understood what was truly at stake. It wasn't about how much time he had left. It was about what he did with it. He walked slowly toward the window and looked outside. The world was still moving. Cars passing. People walking. Life continuing. Just like it always had. The difference was, Now he was actually seeing it. Not rushing past it. Not ignoring it. Seeing it. And in that moment, something shifted inside him. Not a dramatic change. Not a sudden burst of energy. But something deeper. A decision. A quiet, powerful decision. I can't change the past, he said to himself. His voice was steady now. But I can still choose how this ends. That thought alone felt freeing. For the first time in decades, Daniel wasn't thinking about what he lost. He was thinking about what he could still do. It wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't erase the regrets. But it would be real. And that was enough. He turned away from the window and walked toward the small table where his phone lay. His hand paused for a moment above it. This wasn't just a call. It was a step. A step he had been avoiding for years. He picked up the phone and scrolled through his contacts. His son's name appeared on the screen. Daniel stared at it for a few seconds. His heart beat faster. Not from fear, but from something unfamiliar. Courage. He pressed the call button. The phone rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, hello. Daniel swallowed hard. There was so much he wanted to say. So much he should have said years ago. But he didn't overthink it this time. I know I haven't been the father you deserved, he said, his voice slightly shaking. But if it's not too late, I want to try. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Daniel closed his eyes, bracing himself. Then came the answer. Soft. Unexpected. Powerful. It's not too late, Dad. Those words hit him deeper than anything else. Not too late. For years, he had believed time was gone. That chances had disappeared. That his story was already written. But in that moment, he realized something that changed everything. As long as you're still here, there is still a chance to live differently. Tears filled his eyes again. But this time, they weren't just from pain. They were from hope. Real hope. The kind he hadn't felt in decades. Weeks later, Daniel did something he never thought he would. He booked a trip. Nothing big. Nothing extravagant. But it was a start. He took out his old notebook again. And for the first time in years, he began to write. Not about what he missed, but about what he was finally ready to experience. And here's the truth his story leaves behind. The truth that shocks everyone who hears it. It's not age that breaks a man. It's regret. And the most dangerous lie you can ever believe is this. That you still have time. Because one day, you'll look back, just like Daniel did, and realize, you weren't living. You were waiting.